What's up, everyone? John Rettinger from Techno Buffalo here. The WWDC keynote just ended. We've got a lot of stuff to recap. We've got new Macs, iOS 6, and a lot of Apple awesomeness in between. Let's go ahead and get started. So if you guys see me look down, it's because I've got 4 pages of notes in front of me of stuff to go over that was discussed or shown on stage today. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get right to it. So the keynote began with Siri welcoming everyone. There were a few jokes thrown in there against Samsung. It said, I'm really excited for the new Samsung refrigerator. They talked about the Android naming scheme. They made fun of Jelly Bean, ice cream sandwich, and Froyo. And then they started talking about the App Store. App Store, 400 million accounts, 650,000 apps. They paid $5 billion to developers, so if you are a developer, you probably got a piece of that $5 billion. They're adding 32 new countries to the App Store. Phil Schiller came on to talk about notebooks. And this is where we start getting to all the new hardware. Let's start with MacBook Air. They look the same, but they're new inside. So we've got now a 3rd gen core chip in it. That's, of course, Ivy Bridge. You can get up to 2 gigahertz, a dual-core i7. Our turbo boosts that bad boy up to 3.2, up to 8 gigs of RAM. It's now up to 60% faster, and up to a 512 gigabyte hard drive. And now USB 3.0 is in there, so you can get speeds up to 10 times as fast as USB 2.0. So pretty much you got Ivy Bridge and you've got USB 3.0. Nice improvements. Nothing else really changed all that much. They did add a FaceTime HD camera, so you've got 720p. 11 and 13 prices moved a little bit. They moved in the good direction, down. $9.99 or $10.99 for the 11-inch, or $11.99 or $14.99 for the 13-inch, and they are shipping today. So if you've been waiting for a new MacBook Air, your patience has been rewarded. But the MacBook Air certainly wasn't the only laptop that Apple discussed. They also talked about the existing line of MacBook Pros, and you'll see why I'm calling them the existing line in just a minute. Ivy Bridge has been added. They still look the same. 2.7 gigahertz quad core. You can turbo boost that up to 3.7, 8 gigs of RAM, up to 60% faster graphics, USB 3.0. 13-inch is going to be $11.99 or $14.99 depending on which one you get, and that's going to also be shipping today. Now this is where things get fun. So that MacBook Pro exists. Now there's a new line of MacBook Pros called the next generation MacBook Pro, and this is where everything got all kinds awesome. So super thin, 0.71 inches thick compared to the 0.95 inches of the old model, weighing in at 4.46 pounds. 15-inch display. We'll talk about the display in just a minute. So it does have a Retina display. And the pixels are so small that you can't even see them. Super tiny pixels. So you hold your microscope or magnifying glass up, you're not going to be able to see them pixels. 15.4 inches. It's 2,880 by 1,800. So for those of you doing the math, that's a 220 ppi, which makes it the world's highest resolution display on a laptop. So think of it as high resolution as the iPad Retina display. It's kind of what you got now on a laptop. Obviously, bigger screen, a little more pixels on there. They've reduced the glare by 75%, so for those of you perhaps that are in the graphics field and you don't like the glossiness, hopefully you'll be rewarded with this guy. Apps have also been updated for Retina support, and Mail, and a lot of the Pro apps as well. Ivy Bridge is going to be powering this guy. Let's talk a bit about the specs. 2.7 gigahertz up to 3.7, and that's the quad core. Up to 16 gigs of RAM. The next gen Kepler graphics, it's a GeForce GT 650M. Up to 706, kind of an odd number, 768 gigabytes of storage. I believe that was solid state, though they didn't say. Up to 7 hours of battery life or 30 days on standby time. 2 Thunderbolt ports. We'll talk about why in just a second. 2 USB ports, and that's USB 2.0 or 3.0. 1 HDMI port now, which is kind of cool. First time we've seen HDMI port on a Mac laptop. We got the SD card. MagSafe 2.0, they didn't talk much about that, but they did say MagSafe 2.0. Not sure what the extra 1 gets you. And now it's got dual mics. So they've got 2 Thunderbolt ports in there because Thunderbolt ports are now used for pretty much everything for accessories. So if you need DVI or anything else, Thunderbolt is going to be what that input's going to be. Let's talk about price. We had a big debate in the office what this price was going to be. It's going to come in at, for the entry level, $21.99. for the next generation MacBook Pro, which I'm assuming will just be the MacBook Pro probably very soon by the time they phase out the old ones. So what do you guys think about those? Awesome, not awesome? It pretty much looks like they took an iMac, slimmed it down, and they said, here's a new MacBook Pro. So what software is going to be running on these newfangled MacBook Pros? You guessed it, the next generation Mountain Lion. They talked a lot about Mountain Lion. A lot of stuff that we've seen in the past. Some of the cool stuff that we didn't know. Dictation is going to be built in. Think of what you've got on the current generation new iPad. You can pretty much access that from anywhere. So you can tweet from it, you could send an email, you could send IMs. It's pretty much accessible across everything, even in Word, which is kind of neat. We talked a little bit about Safari. You've got iCloud tabs, and you've got tabbed view. Nothing overly exciting. I'm not a big Safari user, so it didn't really do it for me. But if Safari is your web browser of choice or you want to give it a shot, you're going to have some new features that are going to be in there as well. The next new feature is something that made me laugh when I heard the name of it. It's called Power Nap. And it's not what you do when you need to refresh yourself. Essentially, it's going to let your Mac update itself while it is asleep. Kind of a really cool feature. So iMessage will update, apps will update, so you'll always have the most up-to-date information. Things will be syncing over the cloud. Game Center, also coming to Mac. And it's going to be shipping. This is Mountain Lion. It's going to be $19.99, and that'll, for 20 bucks, pretty much update anything that you've got. And that will be shipping in July. So if you're buying one of the new computers that's shipping today, it'll be a free upgrade to Mountain Lion when it comes. And then we finally got to iOS. Let me just say it right now, no new hardware. They did not announce new hardware, but they did hint at it. And we'll talk about what they hinted at as we go through the specs and features of iOS 6. So 365 million iOS devices, that's a ton. 200 new features found in iOS 6. Let's start with Siri. Sports. So you can ask Siri anything about sports. They showed, asking a player's batting average in baseball. They asked if Kobe Bryant was taller than LeBron James. You can really ask a ton of questions about sports, and Siri, in her robotic voice, will do her best to answer you. Yelp and OpenTable integration. You've got movies in there as well, so what time is the Avengers playing, or play a trailer of the Avengers, so now play it right in Siri, and of course you can now AirPlay that to whatever device you like. You can now launch apps from Siri, which is very cool. So you could click it, say boom, play Temple Run, and it would open up Temple Run. Language support as well for French, Spanish, Italian, German, Korean, Mandarin, and Cantonese. So most of the languages are now covered. Siri for the iPad is now more than just dictation. You're getting full Siri on your iPad. Finally, probably should have been there from day one, but it is now coming with iOS 6. What is also coming with iOS 6 is Facebook integration with a public API, which is pretty cool. So you can like apps, or you can send stuff to Facebook, update your status right from iOS 6. Actually do it right from the notification center. You could send a tweet or update your status right from there. I'm not calling them widgets. I know that might make a few people upset, but you do have gadgets up there now, if you want to call them that. Some other new features: when someone calls you, you can reply with a message, or you can also set up a reply later, which creates a sort of a geofence around you. When you exit that geofence, it'll ask you if you want to reply, which is a big battery drain, but a pretty cool feature. They've got a new Do Not Disturb feature, so think of it like profiles on a BlackBerry. If you want to go to bed at night, you don't want your phone buzzing and vibrating, and you don't want to turn it off, you can set Do Not Disturb. You can also set folks that you want to call through. So if you want people on your favorites to actually ring through and sort of go past the Do Not Disturb so you can hear them. If somebody calls you twice, it'll actually ring in case they assume that's an emergency. So some cool new features in there as well. FaceTime is now over 3G. And FaceTime over 3G is not going to be super smooth. But presumably they're announcing FaceTime over cellular data to make way for the next generation iPhone, which will have 4G LTE support and support awesome FaceTime. You've got offline reading tabs now. You've got shared photo streams, VIP mail. So if you want to see mail from someone special, it'll flash in giant colors. You now can have a flagged mailbox as well. And we are on to the last paper of notes, but there's still good stuff here. You've now got something called Passbook. And essentially it's a hard one to explain. Essentially it's going to pull in all of your information when you're out and about. If you want to buy movie tickets, It'll pull it in right on your home screen. It'll pull a ticket right when you want to unlock your screen. It'll show the movie ticket right there. If you're buying a train ticket, it'll show up right there. Your boarding pass will show up right there. Seems like a precursor to some sort of NFC type technology. So pretty cool. I'll talk about that a little bit more in an upcoming video. We've got a new ability for children with disabilities to sort of have a single app mode, which will be relatively nice. They mentioned autistic children especially, and also teachers that might want to use an iPad for a test but don't want them kids going into Safari and checking out the answers. Maps, long rumored, now a reality. Apple now has their own mapping software they claim they built from the ground up, but they bought a mapping company and they used that software, but they Appled it up certainly. 100 million business listings are in there. There's a traffic service. There's now turn-by-turn directions, which work pretty well. And also going to work on the lock screen, so you don't have to unlock your device to get to it. It'll tell you the directions right from your phone. And full Siri integration as well for the turn-by-turn navigations, which is pretty cool. You've got flyover, and you've got 3D modeling, which looked pretty cool. Definitely something you're going to want to check out. It's going to be shipping this fall, and it'll work on iPhone 3GSs or later, and of course, iPads. 4 pages of notes, 1 deep breath, and we've gone through everything that Apple and company shared with us today. So what do you guys think? What are you excited about, not excited about? A lot of new features in iOS. It still looks the same. I was hoping for some new quick way to see information, which did not come to fruition. We did get a lot of stuff that was rumored. We have updates to the desktop line. They didn't say anything about updates to the desktop computers though. So hopefully there'll be quiet updates as well to Ivy Bridge. We got that new fangled fancy MacBook Pro, which looks to be pretty awesome. And iOS 6 and Mountain Lion. So what do you guys think? Excited, not excited? Leave your comments down below. I'm going to exhale again. I'm John Rettinger. Be sure to check us out at technobuffalo.com for all of your Apple news or anything non-Apple as well. Anything from the world of technology. I'll see you next video. Bye-bye.